If your faculty is using AI in the classroom and they aren't tracking these metrics, you might want to tell them to do so. Hey, if you don't know me yet, my name is Ahir Chatterjee, and I'm the founder of Tailored Tutor, a company that helps higher education create AI tutors through our platform. I've spoken with over 50 stakeholders at dozens of different universities, and we're collaborating with 3 universities right now to run some AI studies. Here are the top 5 metrics that we're tracking in no particular order. First metric that we're tracking is student adoption rate. Now, this one's a pretty basic one, but you'd be surprised at how many people aren't even logging their AI experiments. You need to understand how many students in your class is actually using AI. Now, a lot of AI platforms make this super simple, but if you're just encouraging students to use something like ChatGPT, you might want to survey them as well. Typically, what we're seeing is a baseline of about 40% of students are using it, even in large classes that are hundreds of students. Other than student adoption rate, the next thing you're going to want to measure is how students are using it. What are their usage patterns? So this is basically how many messages are they sending, how engaged are they with the AI tutor, when are they using it. We want to be tracking these things. What we've typically found is that students use it the two peak times, which you may not be surprised about, is right before an assignment is due. You just see a steady increase day over day over day of students using it. And then right before an exam is when students are spending a lot of time studying with the AI tutors. After student usage patterns, the next thing I would measure is time spent studying. So basically survey your students and see beforehand how many students are studying for what amount of time. And then after, try to get a gauge of has this reduced the amount of studying that students need. You'll find for some students it does, for some students it doesn't, but on average, we have seen across a few studies that it does tend to reduce a bit of the time for students. In addition to time spent studying, you're going to want to take a look at student attitudes. Getting student attitudes is a really useful thing to survey because you can understand, hey, do they even trust the AI? How much do they trust it? Do they over trust it? Which is something we have seen from students. They always trust the answers, which you've got to be a little wary of. You've got to tell them that AI can still hallucinate sometimes. So that's something to look at. Another thing to look at is, are they more engaged and motivated in classrooms? And that is something that other studies have taken a look at, and they've found that, yeah, students are more engaged when they use AI tutors or use AI in the classroom. And they are a lot more motivated to do their coursework or actually learn the coursework. Finally, the last thing you're really going to want to measure is the actual learning gains. How does this affect my students? Now, if you have the ability, you might want to get this reviewed by your IRB and actually get student grades, right? Because that's the real best way to say, hey, did students learn? Maybe do a controlled study and have one control group that isn't using the AI tutor and another group that is using the AI tutor, and compare the learning and the average distribution between the two, right? Control for as much as you can. Now, if you can't do that, you can always try to survey students and say, hey, did this help you learn? That's something we've done in the past when we don't have access to grades. I'm glad that one of our studies is going to be able to actually have access to grades, so we can really gauge the difference. You've got to be a little wary of when you ask students, hey, did this help you learn? Because just because they say it does doesn't always mean it actually did. Now, that was the 5th thing, but I want to give you guys a few bonus tips on what you can do when you're measuring these metrics. So for one, make sure to keep your surveys to any students short if you actually want them to fill it out. I would suggest usually no more than 3 questions. I mean, 4 is kind of stretching it, but make them like 3 questions, like on a 5-point scale, right? Really obvious, really easy. The second thing is, you don't have to just survey students. Survey faculty as well. Get their attitudes, get their understanding and familiarity with AI tools. That's going to be really important for driving faculty adoption. Because student adoption is one thing, but getting faculty who aren't always in the know of generative AI is going to be really important as well to monitor. I hope this has been helpful for y'all to get a few of your studies kicked off and really help to measure the efficacy of AI in your classroom. For a full detailed breakdown of what we just talked about, please check out the blog post. It's going to be in the description below or in the post that you saw this video in. All right, have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care.